Hi, my name is Alice Matagora, author of How to Save the World, Disciplemaking Made Simple. I wrote this book for the everyday person to equip, empower, and encourage them that they can make disciples wherever God has them. So in this season of being a mom and working, I call you two my nap time disciples. Like you all drive down from the university every week to sit in my living room during the kids' nap times, and we meet together for discipleship. It's been one of my favorite parts of this past year, honestly. Now, today I would love to talk a little bit about this idea of spiritual generations. So one person passing on what they know about walking with Jesus and knowing him to another generation, and then that generation passing on what they know about walking with Jesus to the next generation, and so on. That's really the heartbeat of disciple making, is that it's not just I'm discipling you and passing on what I know about Jesus with you, and God bless, have a good life, and that's it. But really, I'm passing it on to you so that you can pass it on to somebody else in your world. And so first, I would just love to hear a couple of ways from each of you that you feel like your relationship with God has changed or grown ever since being discipled.
I think what discipleship with you has taught me that I previously didn't really practice before was just this measure of accountability with my sisters in Christ. And so, and I think it looks different too. I think probably previously I would probably be with friends or what I'd consider fellowship, but opening up and accountability, it was more about like venting rather than it was like, okay, now that we've got this stuff off our chests, like where can we go from here? How can we love people better from here? Like how can we spiritually grow from here? And so that idea of accountability, but also like paired with like wisdom and like action steps on like where to go and how to just like look deep into our heart and approach Jesus after, discipleship has been really helpful. And I think that's just really helpful to like pass on to like another girls that I'm discipling and just keep, creating that space of vulnerability.
Well, before being discipled by you and before this past year, really, I didn't have many relationships outside of my family with followers of Christ. So there wasn't a whole, like, mentor discipler relationship in my life. And within this past year, I really learned, like, the importance of fellowship. And I'm still learning, how important it is to see other people walking with Christ. And that's really changed my growth within the past year, and probably the most growth I've been through, like spiritually with Christ.
So, Trinity, I would love to hear what it looks like these days for you. You're in a sorority on campus, and what does it look like for you, whether it's with your sorority or with your friends back home? Who does God have on your radar?
Well, since being home, or since being at school, since I grew with God a lot, and honestly, a lot of my life changed. Like the way I think and how I think I should spend time with others changed. So being at home back with a lot of people who are non-believing, I know I have a greater purpose in my friendships with them. And I know that the way I spend time with them, God is giving me opportunities and will give me the opportunities and courage and wisdom to be able to share his love and like be a light to them.
Right.
I have a friend from back home who I grew up with, and it's been one of my best friends. And recently she's been asking me a lot more questions and has been curious about like the meaning of the Bible and asking for me to help her understand it. And I'm still learning, but I'm asking for strength and wisdom to share it with her.
Yeah, that's so awesome. She's asking basically for you to disciple her, and to help her in her understand Jesus, know Jesus, and walk with him,
Yeah. When she first brought it up to me, I didn't think it was a discipleship relationship. But after hearing like what discipleship really is, like just walking with Christ together, it makes me feel more equipped to be able to share with her.
And so how did you start discipling the gal that you're discipling now?
Yeah, so it's actually a really fun story. So I'm discipling someone named Sarah, and it's just a total God moment how I first was introduced to her life vaguely, and then she was introduced in my life. But we were just acquaintances for a while. And I remember I wanted to disciple this one girl really bad, and I was really trying to pursue her, but it was just not working out. And one day I was just being honest and vulnerable with Sarah, and we were just acquaintances, so it wasn't even that common, but I was just like, I don't know, I'm like really bummed right now. I really was trying to pursue this girl, and it does not seem like that type of energy is being reciprocated. Without knowing that I was talking to Sarah, who was also newly converted. She was new in the faith, and she wasn't being discipled. And so, with her, courageous heart, she was like, well, can you disciple me instead? Like, I'm willing to be discipled. I want to be discipled by you.
Awesome.
And that didn't even cross my mind. And so I think that was just a super sweet God moment. And it's been a super sweet year with her and growing with her, and me also like growing as a discipler and seeing how it is. Like, there was only like a year difference in us being saved, but the fact that like God can still use me, and she's teaching me so much too. She's just so inquisitive, and so it really pushes me to learn more about God and about His Word.
Yeah, I mean, you don't need to be 10 years farther down the line, just 1 year farther down the line, but you can pass on what you know with Sarah, and then hopefully one day she can pass on what she's learned from you with somebody else in her life. Or Trinity, you can do that with somebody in your sorority, or and then they can go on to pass what they've learned to somebody else in their sorority or in their life. Now, something that has always blown my mind about this idea of spiritual generations is this idea of being part of a work that is bigger than us, being part of like a lineage of faith that's bigger. It's not just I'm like mentoring you two, or we're not an isolated part of the spiritual lineage, but it's come down from the faithfulness of one generation passing down what they have learned about walking with Jesus down to the next generation, down to the next generation. So this woman, Eunice, who is actually, she's like my spiritual mom, but she's also like my spiritual, she's literally my spiritual great grandmother, so Eunice, she discipled this woman named Tara, who discipled this girl named Jane, who discipled me. And then I discipled Cecia for a summer and discipled you, and then I discipled you, like you're part of a chain, and now you're discipling Sarah, and you're going to be discipling somebody else. Like, I mean, how cool is that? So what does it feel like for you, both of you, to be part of this bigger lineage? What is that like for you?
I think it creates kind of a feeling of unity. I think that's really beautiful. Like when Jesus said, he's like, who's my mother and brother? Those who follow my commands. Look around you. Like, these are your mothers and your brothers and your sisters. And I think when you hear spiritual generations, just as in regular familial relationships, people pass down wisdom, or people pass down humor, or, even recipes, like within family. And like a spiritual generation, we pass down like, heavenly truth that sustains us, that has eternal implications. And so everything, it's really sweet that like, you mentioned these names that I don't even know, like Eunice, but I'm like, I feel automatically connected with her because I'm connected with you. And what, I'm like, I know about you, and what you've poured into me, I know comes from her, like all fueled by the Spirit. And so I think it just creates this sense of unity and love with like sisters and brothers in Christ.
It really is beautiful, like knowing that this is God's purpose for us, and like with all of us and in all of our relationships, like we're feeding into other people's lives, and while like you're feeding into mine and you're feeding into mine, and we're just trying to be a light to everyone. And it really shows that like God chose us, and like we are following Him and His plan for us.
Well, thank you both for being willing to meet and receiving what little I have to offer in this season. I learned just as much from both of you, and am amazed by both of you and the courageous steps you're taking of faith with those around you. And I feel like I'm more encouraged than you guys probably are from me. So thank you for being willing to share and being willing to meet with me.